Why Watch That is a podcast featuring the critic
and referee who go head-to-head on a quest to discover the best movies
and TV shows Hollywood has to offer. Expect the unexpected from the critic.
While nothing gets past the ref.
We do all the work.
So you don't have to. Welcome to Why Watch That.
The Why Watch That movie talk.
We've got some sneak peeks for you and a sneak of a sneak. Something got pulled, but we have an exclusive, so please stay to the end. The critic got a chance to see all of these. I didn't. But first we have releasing on December 6th is the Aeronauts. And it's directed and written by Tom Harper. He at least did the story. Jack Thorne did the story with Tom, but he wrote the screenplay. It stars Felicity Jones, back with Eddie Redmayne, and Himesh Patel, who we recognize, and a bunch of other wonderful Brits. You got a chance to see a sneak peek of this. Is this something we're going to sneak into the theater to watch?
Wow. So, this is inspired by true events. And we have two main characters here played by those two actors you mentioned. Eddie Redmayne plays James Glaisher. Real guy.
That's an appropriate name for this.
But it's not spelled the way you think.
There you go.
And Felicity Jones plays Amelia Wren. Okay. Now, at the beginning, we see Amelia, and this is a period piece. It's the late 19th century-ish. And she's riding in a carriage with her sister, but she has to get out of the carriage because from the very beginning, we see that there are people in a balloon and it's flashing and it doesn't sound good. Okay, what's happening with that? Well, we'll find out later. So she's like, oh, I've got to get out of this vehicle. Please, I need some time. Where's she going? Well, she's about to join up with James Glaisher because they're going to take a little, balloon ride. Right on up. Okay. Now you're going, oh, like a hot air balloon. Yeah, like a hot air balloon, but there's no hot air. It's gas.
Oh.
Now, we find out that Amelia really is an entertainer because people have paid to see them launch. So she's almost like someone in a carnival. I mean, you've got to see this to believe it, what she's doing, to get these people whooped up. And, James is like, you're late. We need to get going. He's a scientist, we find out. And he's doing this for a particular reason because he believes that people will be able to predict the weather. Now, at the time, this is laughable. He is in a scientific society, and they literally laugh at him when he mentions this. He goes, look, I am an astronomer, and I am a meteorologist. And people go, what's a meteorologist? Okay, so he needs to go up to figure out what's happening in the weather. They don't even know that there are different layers as you go up of what happens to weather. So he's going to discover this. But is this safe? How high can you go, and are you prepared, and can you get back down? And why in the world is Amelia going with him?
Yeah.
Well, we find out it's her balloon.
Oh.
What does that mean? How did she come into possession of this balloon? How does she help him with the balloon? What in the world is happening? And as they go up, it's a harrowing journey up and down, and it's not guaranteed that either one will make it back down. It's not. And there are certain characters between the two of them, one of them or maybe both say, I may not make it out of here, but this work is worth it. This work is important. And they do have carrier pigeons. So he's taking notes, and he'll send it periodically through a pigeon just to make sure that if they die, they know what happened. And that's why they are the Aeronauts. Now, later on this year, Ref, we've both seen this movie already, 1917.
Yeah.
It's almost like that, where you have this goal that needs to be accomplished. And as you go through the movie, they show you in this case where they're in the balloon and it's harrowing. You go, oh my goodness, you got to hold your breath. And then they give you snapshots, in this case, of flashbacks where you understand why they're there. It's lulls in between the action. It's a similar kind of thing. So it's punctuating lulls here and then action sequence there.
Gotcha.
When the action's going, it's nice to see on a big screen. It's nice to experience. It's entertaining. The backstory, you need it. However, the backstory took up too much time. The writing isn't that gripping in those parts to match what's happening in this balloon, what's going on between them. What in the world is happening? Are they going to make it? Like, the urgency of that, it's hard to carry that into other scenes, but you must, if you're going to interconnect those two kinds of stories. You have to do it. You have to keep the urgency. They didn't quite hit that mark. But I will say, I didn't mind watching this in a movie theater. Do you have to see it in a theater? The whole thing is, you're in a balloon. Do you want to see that on a big screen? It looks great on the big screen. That's up to you to determine. Will you still be thrilled at home when you get to those sequences? I think you will. This is an Amazon Studios movie, so you know it's coming to Prime at some point. So that's up to you to determine how you'd like to watch it. And I will end with this. Eddie Redmayne and Felicity Jones, they just have great chemistry together. They're wonderful actors. And you can see that again in this movie. They really play well off of each other. And I'll tell you, you won't always know who's saving whom. It might surprise you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Let's move on. That you got to see at the New York Film Festival, called Portrait of a Lady. Now, again, you won't be able to everyone see this at once. It is opening for a week in New York and LA on the 6th of December, but it'll be everywhere Valentine's Day. Okay. It's a very strange time for this particular movie. The director is Celine Sciamma, and she wrote it as well. The cast you will not be familiar with except for Valeria Golino. Now, if you're like, who's Valeria Golino? She was the love interest in Rain Man.
Yeah.
I saw her instantly. I knew her, and she was in that other movie spoof, Hot Shots, as well.
And Big Top Pee-wee.
And Big Top Pee-wee! So we definitely, you know who she is. She's older now, so you have to kind of look, but at least there's someone to ground you to sort of go, okay, I know. Let's see what's going on here. But you got a chance to see it. It is not going to be for everyone because they won't be able to find it.
So, I saw this at the New York Film Festival. From the beginning of this, we see Marianne, and she's teaching students how to paint. And she's very serious. She's very strong in what she's doing, but she's not overbearing. At the back of the room is a painting. One of the students asks about it. It's a portrait of a lady on fire. And Marianne painted it. So Marianne, this helps her, or it sends her into a reverie. She reminisces on how this painting came to be. And we see this play out. So what happened is, and this is a period piece, by the way, we're in the 18th century.
Yeah.
So what happened is, she was commissioned by the Countess, who's played by Valeria. So the Countess brings her in because the Countess needs her to paint her daughter, Heloise, so that she can send this painting to a suitor for her daughter. Now, why does she need Marianne to do this? Well, she tells Marianne, look, I've had some other painters come in, all men, and Heloise doesn't want to be painted by them. She doesn't want to marry this man. So you've got to paint her without her knowing it.
Oh my gosh.
So you're the one because since you're female, you can befriend her. Let's just say it's that way. You're here to be friends with her, essentially. I won't tell you the full role. And this way you can get to know what she looks like and just paint on the sly. Now, how could she do this? How could she come up with a realistic portrait of somebody without being able to paint them while they're sitting there? Now, as this plays out, there seems to be some sort of spark between Marianne and Heloise. What kind of spark is that? You'll have to watch it to find out.
The poster will tell you.
Yeah. Now, but is it as clear cut as what the poster might be suggesting?
Probably not.
So, as we see them develop into what's a friendship, the question is, does Heloise figure out what Marianne's really there for? Also, what is their relationship about? Can it be requited or not?
Ooh, good word.
Now, that's enough with the plot. This kind of movie is all about what's not said. It's about glances. It's about looks. It's about the landscape. It's all about this. It's about the language of French. They even speak a bit of Italian, which I appreciated.
Yeah, yes, you did.
So it's like all of this in there. If this gets you going, then you can watch this movie. Here's what I'll say as a review. They get the tension. It's there. And they hold it. Like, this is well done. However, I felt like there was another level they needed to reach. They didn't quite get there. They get to the tension and it kind of stays there and it gets flat. So it's good, but it's not great. And I felt that it could have been. So it looks great. The acting's very good. The writing is good. Like, everything's good here. I just wish that they hit another gear. If you're an art house person, hey, this is your kind of movie. Now, you can't be someone who is kind of conservative in your taste when it comes to love stories. I'll put it that way. So as long as you're not that kind of person and you're interested in what I said, I would say definitely watch this. It's all about suggestion here, and they succeed on that count.
Well, it did quite well with the critics, so that is for you to decide. If you're going to pay your $15, you'll have to find it on Valentine's Day. If not, New York and LA, you can check it out on the 6th. Now we're going to move on to something else. In recent news, Apple has announced that their first feature will be The Banker, and they had plans for The Banker to be released theatrically on the 6th. However, due to, well, it was going to be like a limited, situation, but due to some very disturbing allegations against a family member of the subject matter, they have decided to not only pull The Banker from a festival, the AFI was going to show it, but they're also pulling that release date and will further let us know at some point the exact date when they plan to release it wide, as well as on Apple TV Plus. But the critic got a chance to see it before it. Literally, he saw it, and the next day or two, there was a whirlwind of confusion from the theatrical community, and Apple ultimately pulled it. I was supposed to see it at the same kind of function, but it too got pulled. So this is exclusive, hot off the press. This is not something you're going to hear at many other outlets, because this particular screening was for a very specific group of people. So do tell us. First of all, I didn't even pull up to see who's talking about this because I'm so eager to hear about it, even though I already heard a little bit. It is directed by George Nolfi. It's written by Nicole, I think it's a different way of saying that, Levy. George also wrote the screenplay. You've got Stan Younger, David Lewis Smith also coming in with writing, and Brad Kane came up with the story, even though it's based loosely on a real situation that happened in LA. The cast: Sam Jackson, yes, Samuel Jackson's here. Anthony Mackie is starring. Nicholas Hoult is playing this interesting character. Nia Long, as well as a bunch of other people who you will have seen and know. So tell us about this exclusive screening and your thoughts.
Oh, now, it's again inspired by true events. This, and Ref, we were talking about this. This is the story that you go, how did I not know this?
Right.
How did I not learn about this? So keep that in mind as I go through the plot and my review. So we have Anthony Mackie, who plays Bernard Garrett. And at the very beginning of the movie, he's a kid. It's not Anthony Mackie playing him. He's a kid eavesdropping on white men, and this is important, on white men talking about business, about money. He's taking notes. He gets caught, of course. Get out of here. He goes to his father. His father is like, look, you are very smart. You might even be a genius. But do you think that you're going to be able to take this knowledge you're getting about money? Because he has like algorithms written down, a kid.
Wow.
So his father's like, do you think you'll be able to use this? Now, Bernard tells his dad, look, maybe not here in Texas, but I'll find somewhere. I'll get out of here and I'll find somewhere to be successful. His father's skeptical. Okay. Now, the time period, this is like the maybe 30s, 40s-ish. And then we lead up to the 50s. So in the 50s, he's now Anthony Mackie. And he is in LA. He's gone there with his wife, who's played by Nia Long. And his wife and he's with their young son are staying with his wife's uncle while they look for somewhere to live in LA and while they look for really some money, a job. Now, they had a business before, and Nia Long's character, whose name is Eunice, saved money. So the uncle, her uncle, is skeptical, and she says, I saved our money from that business, and we're going to use it to invest in real estate. Okay? And my husband is a genius, by the way. So you just watch out.
Boom.
So they turn into, real estate moguls, essentially. But how? They don't have enough money to really get this thing done because what they want to do is buy houses in white neighborhoods and sell them to black people. Now, some of this is already happening. They just want to ride the wave. And Bernard is a genius. So he knows where to go, when to go, and how to get there. But they don't have quite enough capital. So Eunice is like, hey, let's go to Joe Morris, who's played by Samuel L. Jackson. He has some money, and we have a history. I used to work for him. Now, she takes him to meet Joe, and Joe owns a club, loves the ladies.
Uh-oh.
This makes Bernard, who's very straight-laced, very serious, uncomfortable. Bernard is like, this ain't the guy to get money from. So instead, he partners with a white man, who's played by Colin Meaney, Patrick Barker. Now, Patrick is Irish, so he can understand the struggle a bit. But he's like, look, you can't be the face of this. Let's do this 50-50. I'll do the meetings. You do all the scouting and everything like that. And it works. Now, something happens, I'll say, where this partnership breaks up. But this does not stop Bernard. Bernard thinks to himself when he goes back home to Texas, maybe there's a way for me to take my skills and move into banking. What? Now, the first thing that he wants to do is buy the building that a bank is in. And this is the bank that was loaning him and Patrick money. Because would they loan a black man money by himself? So he goes, maybe I'll buy the building. And then they have to deal with me. But who's going to be the partner? You know who? Samuel L. Jackson's character, Joe. has to be brought in. And then we see how this leads to them trying to be bankers themselves. Now, in order to get this done, they still need a white face. Now, this white face comes in the form of Nicholas Hoult's character, Matt Steiner. Now, Matt works in a factory with Bernard's nephew. That's how he meets him. So this isn't some sophisticated guy. They've got to train this guy. Bernard's got to teach him math. Okay. And Joe teaches him golf. Because he's like, look, that's where the business deal starts. These white men, they're on golf courses. How does that turn out? And Nia Long's character, Eunice, has to teach him table manners, okay?
Oh, boy.
So they turn him into this guy that he's supposed to be. But where does it go? Also, they've got to keep track of Matt as things snowball. Because if they're going to be bankers, well, somebody's got to be there to help him along when he gets into tough spots. So who is that someone? Maybe it's all three of them in different ways. Now, the banker, that's enough of the story.
Jeez.
I'll tell you, the FBI, the FDIC get involved in the end. But
I'm
with
sure
whom,
they do.
for what purpose? Why?
Oh.
How? I will say that the story is the reason to see this. It's the story. I was watching it going, what? Like you're watching going, what? How did I not know this was going on? That's the reason to see it. The unfortunate part is the way it's presented isn't as unique as the story itself. It's presented like a TV movie.
Yeah.
A really good one. Okay? Now, you have Anthony Mackie as the lead, and it's a perfect fit. Anthony Mackie can play a smart character with his eyes closed. It works, and he does have the fire. Also, this is something, he's a producer on this movie. He really wants people to see it. I mean, this movie, before he even joined it, was 10 years in the making. Now, George Nolfi directed him in The Adjustment Bureau. That's when they started talking about it. Okay, so now we've come to this, and we know what's going on off screen. Okay. Samuel L. Jackson, Anthony Mackie got on the phone and called him to join the cast because he was talking about some older black actors of prominence may not want to be second fiddle. Okay? So Samuel L. Jackson really did them a solid. And it couldn't have been a perfect actor to play that role. You need Samuel L. Jackson to do that role. You buy him as somebody who may look a certain way, but is smarter than you think and brings the humor. So Sam is Sam, and it works. Nia Long as Anthony Mackie's wife there, you need Nia Long to do this kind of role, so you buy that look. This is a woman at the time who stood by her man but had her own mind. And it works. And Nicholas Hoult is there to just be clueless and then all of a sudden not be clueless. Or is he? So the casting works. It's just I wish the presentation had more of an opinion about this. It matched the storyline more, and it could have been edited a bit more. But outside of that, hey, should you see this when and if it's available? Absolutely. The question is how. If you want to wait until you see it on Apple TV Plus, do it that way. If you're interested in the story, you can get a free trial if you don't already have one and watch it, or just pay $5 to get the month. And there you go.
Boom. There it is. All of these movies are available at most of them are available at some point in the theater. The Banker, we're still waiting to hear when and if it'll be released, but I'm sure you can keep up with all of the hoopla around that on your local trades. But other than that, maybe we'll see you at the theater.
Thanks for listening. For additional resources, visit WhyWatchThat.com.
Good idea, and we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and leave comments, feedback, and you can rate us on iTunes.
We'll see you next week.
See you.